Well, look who stumbled in. You want power, don't you? Not the kind that shakes hands and smiles for the cameras. No. I'm talking about the kind that makes their stomachs twist when you enter the room. The kind that makes their knees knock together, their eyes dart away. Their very souls whisper, "Don't mess with him." He leans closer, grin widening unnaturally. You think fear is ugly. Wrong. Fear is beautiful. Oh, it's music, my friend. And like any symphony, it takes practice. You want to conduct the orchestra of terror. Ha! Then listen closely. I've got 7 little moves. Simple, elegant, deadly. Master them, and the world won't admire you, they'll obey you. Joker laughs, sharp and broken, before slamming his hand on the table. Fear is the only language everyone speaks fluently. Rich, poor, weak, strong. They all understand it, and when you speak it better than anyone else, you own them. Body, mind, soul, every single one. He tilts his head, silence stretching, then whispers. So, shall we begin? Oh ho, you're gonna love this. By the end, they won't clap for you. They won't cheer. They'll shake. They'll sweat. They'll pray you never look their way. And that, my friend, that's when you'll know you've won. The screen fades to black. Laughter echoes. Ah, the smile. Such an innocent little curve, isn't it? A polite hinge on the mouth where society hangs its good manners. They say a smile means welcome, warmth, reassurance. They say it means you're safe. How precious, how fragile. Watch closely, all it takes is the slightest twist, a hairline fracture in the pleasant mask, and everything they thought they knew about you begins to wilt. A smile is a shape, yes, but it's also a riddle. And riddles, my friend, are where fear likes to pitch its tent. Consider how people assemble themselves, tidy faces, tidy voices, tidy explanations for why they do the things they do. Their smiles are receipts they show at the door. See, I've paid my civility tax. Now imagine meeting that tidy ritual with something not quite tidy. Not a scowl, no, anyone can growl. A scowl is a child's tantrum in a costume. I'm speaking of a smile that doesn't rush to comfort, a smile that refuses to explain itself, a smile that lingers like a whispered rumor, as though it knows things your words haven't earned the right to hear. There is power in what doesn't match. People expect consistency, kind eyes, kind smile, hard eyes, hard mouth. Give them a contradiction and you can watch their minds fumble for purchase. Offer a relaxed, even delighted grin when the room expects apology. Let your lips write poetry while your eyes read an entirely different book. That mismatch pries open a little gap in their certainty. Through that gap, like a draft under a locked door, slips the question, what do they know that I don't? Fear blooms in questions with no handrails. They'll try to label you, of course. They love their labels, comforting stickers to paste over their unease. Confident, they'll murmur, or arrogant, or strange. What they won't say out loud is truer. I don't know how to place this person. And that, oh, that is the hinge that swings open whole rooms. When they cannot place you, they cannot predict you. When they cannot predict you, they cannot preempt you. When they cannot preempt you, they start to scale back their reach, their volume, their little performances. A careful hush settles where there used to be noise. Your smile did that. How elegant, how economical. You see, most smiles are tools of comfort. They soothe, they butter, they invite. But comfort is a currency for people who want acceptance. If your aim is gravity, if you desire that quiet rearrangement of the air when you enter, then your smile must become something else entirely, not a cushion, but a question mark, not an invitation, but a mirror. Make it the sort of smile that reflects the other person back at themselves. Let it suggest, I see the seam in your story. Let it imply, there's a joke here and you are inches away from it, but I'm in no rush to explain. They will beg for your reason. Watch them search your face for a caption. Watch them try little experiments, a remark, a tease, a challenge, anything to scratch the itch of not knowing. Let the smile answer none of it. Let it stand calm and unbothered, as if you found a private constellation only you can see. People can stomach rejection, even anger. At least those emotions come with a map. What they fear is the unmapped terrain of composure that doesn't bend to their pokes and prods. Now indulge me for a moment. Picture the ordinary grin, bright and agreeable. It asks for approval. It is a dog that's learned to shake hands. Compare that to the smile of madness. No pleading in it, no apology tucked into the corners. It's not a demand. Either demands raise their voices. This smile doesn't need to. It's a quiet authority, like ink already drying on a page. It says, I know where this is going. It says, I've walked this corridor before and I left breadcrumbs you can't see. Even if none of that is true, the impression is its own architecture. People live inside impressions more than facts. Why not become the architect? They'll tell you sincerity is the soul of a proper smile. How quaint. Sincerity is a dessert best served when stakes are low. When stakes climb, status, resources, loyalties, territory, sincerity alone doesn't feed anyone. What feeds people then is certainty. And here is the twist: your smile needn't be sincere to feel certain. Confidence, after all, is less a feeling than a rhythm. Keep time with it, and others will tune their instruments to yours. The grin that doesn't flinch, doesn't amber into nervousness, doesn't scramble to match the mood of the room. This grin becomes a metronome for everyone else's pulse. You want another secret? Smiles speak in grammar. There are commas, full stops, ellipses, and a sentence with a tight little smirk, and you've placed a period, a finality that tells the other person there's no appeal court. Stretch it into a patient crescent, and you've made an ellipsis, 3 silent beats where they will fill the gap with their own anxieties. Lift one corner higher than the other, and you've slipped in a parenthetical. I know something you don't, and I won't be sharing. The mouth writes, the mind reads, the body obeys. Of course, they'll accuse you of manipulation. Let them. Accusation is just the tantrum of the unprepared. What they call manipulation might also be called mastery, a decision to treat your expression as intentional rather than accidental. Why should your face belong to their expectations? Why should your smile clock in and out on a schedule they designed? A face can be a leash if you wear it lazily, or it can be a key. Choose. Now then, some will try to mirror you, to play your game back at you. How adorable. They'll attempt the enigmatic grin, but it will rattle in their hands because they will forget the spine beneath its serenity. Your smile must be anchored to a quiet center. Not cruelty, not flamboyance, not froth, but poise. Without poise, a smile is merely performance. With poise, it is prognosis. They'll feel the difference, even if they can't name it. They'll taste the inevitability of you, the way certain songs own a room long before the chorus arrives. There is an ethics to this, if ethics interest you. I don't mean kindness. Kindness is a separate river, but coherence with yourself. If your grin is a costume you loathe, your face will mutiny, the eyes will betray, the jaw will clench, the breath will stumble. If, however, your smile simply reveals your refusal to be hurted by another's urgency, then it is not deception, it is declaration. I choose my climate, it says. Storm if you must. I remain the temperature I require. Notice how the cowardly ones will ask for reassurance. They'll prod, what's funny? Or, why are you smiling? The helplessness in those questions. Resist the temptation to explain. Explanation is a discount you apply to your presence so that others can afford it. Let them pay full price. Let them grapple. When they cannot lure you into the small courtroom where they preside as judge and jury, they will, sooner or later, step into your cathedral of silence. In that space, your smile is the stained glass-colored, luminous, implacable. They will lower their voice without realizing why. A word about timing the world is ruled less by force than by tempo. Most people rush to fill emptiness as if silence were a bill they forgot to pay. Smile and wait. Let the moment ripen. The mind that cannot tolerate unfilled space will decorate it with anxieties on your behalf. They will whisper to themselves the very lines you refuse to say. They will build the legend you refuse to script. Economical, isn't it? You contribute the curve, they provide the story. Do not confuse this with meanness. Meanness is small. It clatters in the open and begs to be seen. The smile of madness is not petty, it is spacious. It contains the possibility of laughter and the possibility of consequence, and it refuses to declare which until it chooses. That refusal makes people cautious. Caution is a leash they tighten around their own throats. You don't have to pull. Just hold the other end. And what of joy? But joy is not banished here. In fact, true joy has sharp edges. The world expects joy to be sloppy and loud. You may let yours be sleek and private. A contained smile can be an ember that never goes out, a proof of inner sovereignty. Others will wonder who lit it for you. Let them wonder. Curiosity, too, is a form of gravity. You will meet the brave ones, the few who do not flinch, who stand before your smile as if it were sunshine, not eclipse. Respect them. Such people are rare and valuable. A sovereign recognizes another. Your smile will not unsettle them, it will interest them. That interest is the beginning of alliance or rivalry, or both. Either way, it is worthy. Not every face must be a battlefield. Some faces deserve a bow. But for the ordinary crowd, and they are legion, this single curvature of the mouth will change the arithmetic. They will speak differently to you. They will hedge their boasts. They will arrange themselves around your quiet like furniture around a fireplace. All because you declined to present your grin as a begging bowl. All because you let the mouth draw a shape the world couldn't place. So hold your weather. Let the smile be your climate, mild, unfussed, secretive. Let it be a lighthouse that never justifies its beam. Let it be a locked drawer whose key no one else receives. They will test it. They will tap the wood and pretend they don't care what's inside. But they will come back. They always do. The unknown has better gravity than any plea. And when at last they think they've grown used to it, when they believe your smile is merely habit, surprise them by letting it fade to a straight line for a breath, then return. Slightly altered, not bigger, finer, as if you heard a note only you could hear and decided the world wasn't ready for the melody. Their hearts will misstep. They'll check themselves. They'll remember there is depth here, and perhaps a drop-off. This is the smile they call madness, though the madness isn't frenzy. It's the world's reaction to a mouth that won't translate itself into their language on command. If that unsettles them, let it. You didn't build their dependency on reassurance. You aren't required to feed it. In the end, a smile is a contract you sign with the room. Most sign away their authority for a handful of approval. You will not. Your ink is rarer. Your signature says, I'm not here for your comfort. I'm here on my terms. Read into it what you like. You will anyway. And as they do, as they invent stories to bridge the gap between your curve and their craving, they will move more carefully around you, not because you shouted, not because you begged, but because you allowed the simplest shape on the human face to become a mystery again. That is the first move. Not loud, not busy, not cruel, merely sovereign. The mouth lifts, the crowd lowers, and in the hush that follows, you will hear it, the delicate click of power changing hands. Silence. How quickly people misunderstand it. They think silence is absence, a void, an empty chair at the dinner table. They confuse it with weakness, with retreat, with the quiet of someone who has nothing left to say. They never learn that silence is not a retreat, it is an advance, a strike without movement, a storm without wind. When mastered, silence is louder than any shout, sharper than any insult, more commanding than any declaration. Why does silence carry such weight? Because the human mind is a machine that despises gaps. Leave a sentence unfinished, and listeners will complete it in their own imagination. With silence, you become the author of everyone else's paranoia. You hand them an unfinished script, and their fears rush in to finish the dialogue for you. What could be more efficient? You say nothing, and yet inside their minds you've said everything. Consider how most people operate a compulsion to fill the air, to patch every pause with chatter, laughter, nervous filler words. The pause feels like a cliff edge to them, so they pour cement over it as quickly as possible. When you decline to join this frantic construction, when you stand upon the cliff with ease, they begin to tremble. Your composure in silence suggests you know something they don't, and that suggestion is the spark of fear. Think of silence as a mirror that forces others to confront their own noise. Speak less, and you will discover how much people reveal in the vacuum. They rush to fill the emptiness with secrets, excuses, admissions. They betray themselves, not because you demanded it, but because they could not endure the weight of your unspoken presence. They dig their own graves with words while you lean comfortably on the shovel of quiet. Of course, they will attempt to provoke you. They will toss questions, jabs, accusations, even jokes, hoping to bait your voice into the arena. Smile, or don't. Breathe, or don't, but do not answer until the silence has done its work. The longer you leave them with their echo, the more frantic they become. It's not your words they fear, it's their own thoughts, magnified by the lack of distraction. That is the genius of silence. It weaponizes the noise already inside them. Some will say silence is passive. They are wrong. Silence is not empty, it is active, deliberate, chosen. To remain silent in the right moment is to wield a scalpel rather than a club. The silence cuts precisely where words would have bludgeoned clumsily. With silence, you don't need to dominate the conversation, you dominate the space around it. Even the loudest voices bend around silence like water around stone. There is a rhythm to silence, and rhythm is where its true artistry lies. Too brief, and it feels like hesitation. Too long, and it drifts into neglect. The mastery is in holding the silence just beyond comfort, but short of collapse. Let the tension grow taut, then let it break when you choose, not when they beg. That choice, that control, marks the difference between ordinary quiet and silence that screams. Have you noticed how the guilty cannot endure silence? Confront someone with an accusation, then wait. Their pulse quickens, their eyes dart, their mouth spills denials unasked for. You gave them no script, but they performed anyway, and in their performance, they revealed everything. The innocent, too, will try to explain themselves in the face of silence, though their explanations feel different. Please rather than protest. Either way, the silence squeezed the truth out without a word from you. Power is not always in action. Power often resides in restraint. Anyone can talk. Talking is cheap. But silence is expensive. It demands control of self, patience, and confidence. Silence says, I do not need to spend my words to purchase your attention. Silence says, I can wait longer than you can. And when they realize they cannot outwait you, they hand over the crown without knowing it. In confrontation, silence is the most terrifying refusal. People expect defense, excuse, escalation. When they get none, their script falls apart. They planned for an argument, not a void. They prepared for war, not absence. What is more maddening than throwing a punch that never lands? Because the opponent isn't where you expected them to be. That is what silence does. It makes the aggressors swing at shadows, exhausting themselves until their own noise becomes unbearable. In persuasion, silence works differently, but no less effectively. Say less than you know. Let others talk themselves into agreement. Their own words will convince them more thoroughly than yours ever could. Ask a question, then let the pause devour the air. They will fill it with rationalizations that favor your position. You need only guide the current, and silence does the rowing for you. Even in companionship, silence is telling. Those who are uneasy in your presence will scramble to plaster over every pause with nervous chatter. They will reveal their insecurity in their desperation to please. Those who can sit comfortably in silence with you are rare. They have no urge to escape the weight of your quiet. Treasure those few, for they are strong enough to see silence not as threat but as truth. Do not mistake this for an invitation to sulk or brood. Sulking is silence poisoned by bitterness. Brooding is silence corroded by self-pity. Neither commands respect. The silence that screams is not sour, not self-punishing. It is neutral, almost serene. It is the silence of someone who knows they don't need to rush because time itself is on their side. It is the stillness before lightning, not the sulk of a wounded child. Imagine the impression you leave. They replay the conversation later and remember not your words, but your quiet. They recall the unanswered question, the unfinished pause, the look that carried more weight than a speech. They wonder what you meant, what you knew, what you held back. That wondering lingers long after words would have been forgotten. Your silence becomes their obsession. When people cannot control your silence, they will fear it, because control is the illusion most cling to. Take it away, and they are left exposed. You offer them nothing to hold, no lever to pull, no string to tug. They cannot manipulate what does not respond. That is why silence unsettles them. It denies them the illusion of control. And when people feel powerless, they instinctively fear. So practice silence, not as absence, but as instrument. Let others exhaust themselves with noise while you conserve your power. Let them reveal themselves in their desperation to avoid the quiet. Let them hand you information, respect, even obedience, all because you refuse to play their noisy game. Silence is not weakness. Silence is sovereignty. It is the crown worn by those who do not need applause. The scepter of those who command without shouting. This is the second move. Speak when you must, but learn to stay silent when it matters most. Let silence scream for you. It will terrify more than rage, and it will echo longer than any speech. Predictability is the leash that tames most people. They walk the same paths, speak in the same tones, make the same faces day after day because routine comforts them. Predictability is the lullaby they sing to themselves to ward off the chaos outside their window. But if you want to be feared, you cannot be predictable. You cannot be cataloged, charted, or tamed. You must become a question with no answer, a storm with no pattern, a riddle that mocks anyone who tries to solve it. You must become unpredictable. Why does unpredictability terrify? Because people rely on patterns to survive. They crave consistency the way lungs crave oxygen. It gives them the illusion that tomorrow will look like today, and today will look like yesterday. Strip them of that illusion, and you watch their foundations crack. When they cannot predict you, they cannot prepare for you. When they cannot prepare for you, they cannot defend themselves. And when they cannot defend themselves, fear is the only option left. Think of unpredictability as a dance, not a stumble. Stumbling is chaos without purpose. It confuses, but it does not command. A dance, however, has rhythm, even when it seems erratic. True unpredictability is not about nonsense. It is about refusing to fit into the rhythm others expect, while still maintaining a rhythm of your own. It is jazz, a wild, improvisational, yet undeniable in its presence. It is the refusal to be pinned down, the mastery of keeping others guessing without losing your own center. Consider speech. Most people telegraph their thoughts with predictable cadences. Their sentences march like soldiers, left, right. They build to a climax, deliver a punch, then rest. Change your cadence. Let your voice dip when it should rise. Pause where others expect a rush. Laugh where others expect anger. Answer questions with questions. Speak calmly when others scream, and scream when the room is calm. The disruption unsettles them. Their brains scramble to adapt to find a pattern, but the pattern keeps mutating like smoke between their fingers. The same principle applies to decisions. The world expects consistency. The angry one always lashes out. The kind one always forgives. The leader always commands. The follower always obeys. Defy these roles. Forgive when they expect wrath. Punish when they expect mercy. Step back when they brace for your advance. Advance when they dismiss you as passive. Each broken expectation tears a hole in their map of you. Each hole reminds them they are lost in your presence. Unpredictability is not recklessness. Do not confuse the two. Recklessness is predictable in its own way. Everyone expects the reckless to act rashly. True unpredictability is the art of mixing composure with eruption, logic with absurdity, kindness with cruelty, in patterns no one can chart. The reckless man is feared only for a moment before people adjust to his clumsiness. The unpredictable one, however, is feared endlessly because no adjustment is ever enough. They never know what version of you will appear. This dance is most powerful when paired with restraint. If you are always wild, they expect wildness. If you are always calm, they expect calm. Blend the two. Become still for days, weeks, months, then suddenly erupt with precision. Or erupt often, then withdraw completely, leaving them puzzled by the absence. This rhythm keeps them disoriented. They will begin to watch you the way prey watches a predator, not knowing when you will strike, only knowing you could at any moment. Unpredictability also thrives in the smallest gestures. Tilt your head when they expect a nod, chuckle at an insult, compliment an enemy, interrupt the obvious with the absurd. These tiny fractures in the expected script keep others on edge. They begin to anticipate disruption, which in itself becomes another layer of control. When people live braced for your unpredictability, they are already bowing to you. But remember, unpredictability works because people crave predictability. If they did not crave it, your disruption would have no effect. Their addiction to patterns is your weapon. They want the world to be orderly and you deny them that comfort. They want you to play your part in their story and you refuse. They want to reduce you to a formula and you stay one step beyond the reach of their chalkboard. That refusal is what makes them fear you. They may call you erratic, unstable, even mad. Let them. Those are just words they invent to explain away what they cannot control. The truth is simpler. You are free. Free from the script they expect. Free from the rhythm they rely on. And freedom frightens those who are chained to predictability. They will call you mad because the alternative is admitting they are imprisoned in their own routines. One of the cruelest beauties of unpredictability is how it multiplies itself. When people cannot predict you, they begin to invent possibilities in their heads. Their imagination becomes your accomplice. If you punish them today, they will fear punishment tomorrow, even if you never act again. If you surprise them with mercy once, they will fear your cruelty twice as much the next time. Every action, no matter how small, becomes magnified by their uncertainty. You act once, their minds punish them 100 times. Unpredictability also reshapes respect. Many believe respect must be earned through consistency, reliability, honor. Perhaps that is one version of respect, but there is another kind, born not of admiration, but of wariness. It is the respect given to fire, to storms, to creatures with teeth. They may not like you, they may not trust you, but they will respect the uncertainty of what you might do, and that respect is stronger than any applause. Do not think unpredictability is only for enemies. Even allies benefit from it. Too much predictability breeds contempt, boredom, or exploitation. Allies who cannot predict you remain attentive, alert, engaged. They know you are capable of turning in new directions, and that awareness keeps them close. They may grumble, but they will not wander, because they know your dance always leads somewhere. They cannot walk without you. There is danger in overindulging unpredictability. If you lean so far into it that you lose your own center, you become chaos for chaos's sake. That is not power, that is collapse. True mastery means you are unpredictable to them, but purposeful to yourself. They cannot trace your steps, but you know the rhythm beneath them. You are improvising, yes, but you are not lost. You are leading the dance, even when they cannot see the music. The most unsettling truth of unpredictability is this: once you master it, you no longer need to use it constantly. The reputation alone does the work. People who have experienced your unpredictability once will remember it forever. They will flinch when you smile, pause when you go quiet, brace themselves when you shift in your seat. The legend of what you might do will often weigh more heavily than what you actually do. In that way, unpredictability is an investment. You plant it once, and it grows into a forest of fear that requires little maintenance. To be feared is not to be hated, though the two often overlap. To be feared is to live rent-free in the minds of others, to have your presence echoed in their choices, even when you are absent. Unpredictability ensures that echo never fades. They cannot anticipate your step, so every step you take echoes louder. They cannot map your route, so every corner hides your shadow. They cannot prepare, so every preparation feels useless. And what is fear if not the steady hum of uselessness in the face of another's will? So dance. Dance with your words, your silences, your choices. Dance with your allies and your enemies alike. Keep them leaning forward, guessing, worrying, doubting. Keep them waiting for the moment you break the rhythm, even when you decide not to. Dance until they realize they are no longer dancing with you. You are dancing around them, through them, beyond them. That realization is the moment they surrender. This is the third move, the dance of unpredictability. Master it, and no one will ever walk toward you with full confidence again. They will glance at you, hesitate, and whisper to themselves, "What if?" That whisper will gnaw at them, and in that gnawing silence, you will already have won. People spend their entire lives sculpting masks. They build them carefully, polish them daily, and wear them proudly. These masks are not mere decorations, they are shields, fragile defenses hiding the trembling machinery underneath. Every smile, every pose, every little affectation is an attempt to convince the world I am whole, I am strong, I am certain. But most of all, those masks are designed to protect the truth they fear will be seen. The mirror of fear is the act of showing people exactly what they hope to conceal. It is not an invention. It is not a lie. It is reflection, sharp, merciless, and impossible to look away from. Why is this move so powerful? Because the greatest fear people carry is not death, not pain, not loss, it is exposure. Exposure of weakness, exposure of insecurity, exposure of the tiny cracks they try so desperately to plaster over. They dread the thought that someone, anyone, could look at them and say, "I see you, I see through you." To master this move is to become that someone, not through aggression, not through force, but through the unnerving art of mirroring. Mirroring begins: simply observe. Study the tics and tremors they hope you ignore, the way their voice falters on certain words, the nervous twitch in the corner of their mouth when challenged, the way they cross their arms when they feel small, the way their eyes dart when guilt brushes against them. Every mask is clumsy, every mask leaks. Where others politely look away, you must look closer. Your eyes become a magnifying glass, and your silence becomes the flame that magnifies the heat. People can tolerate their own insecurities so long as no one names them. Once you reflect them back, however, the mask shatters. But do not mistake mirroring for mockery. Mockery is childish, it amuses but rarely terrifies. Mirroring is subtler, heavier. You do not need to exaggerate their flaws. You simply return them, plain and unadorned, like holding up a mirror at the worst possible angle. Repeat their phrases in their own tone. Sit as they sit, slouch as they slouch, fidget as they fidget. Do it calmly, without comment, and they will begin to notice. The realization that you see their cracks, and worse, that you can mimic them, will gnaw at them more viciously than any insult ever could. In conversation, reflection is lethal. Repeat their excuses back to them word for word, letting the absurdity breathe in the air. Echo their contradictions without judgment, and they will feel judged anyway. If they stammer, let your response stammer slightly too, as though their weakness has infected you. They will become frantic to escape the mirror you've placed before them. Some will grow angry, some defensive, some desperate to overcompensate, but none will remain at ease. The reflection will strip them bare. The true artistry of this move lies not in the surface quirks, but in reflecting the essence of their fear. Find the story they've built around themselves. Perhaps they want to appear fearless, so you reflect their hesitation. Perhaps they crave authority, so you reflect the tremor in their command. Perhaps they worship intelligence, so you reflect the gaps in their logic. Whatever role they clutch tightly, hold up the mirror that reveals its fragility. In that instant, you are not simply challenging their behavior, you are threatening their identity. Nothing cuts deeper. People often claim they want to face the truth. They lie. What they really want is reassurance that their lies are believable. The mirror denies them this comfort. It hands them their reflection without filters, without mercy. And when they recoil, when they squirm, when they lash out at you, it is not truly you they are fighting. It is themselves. That is the genius of this move. You never attack directly. You let them attack their own reflection, and in doing so, they collapse. You may wonder, isn't this cruel? Perhaps. But cruelty is not the point. Fear is, and fear, when born of self-recognition, is the most enduring kind. A threat from outside can be dismissed, resisted, or forgotten. But when the threat is internal, when the fear is carved into their own skin, they carry it everywhere. Once you've reflected their cracks, they cannot unsee them. You plant doubt that lingers long after you've left the room. There is also a peculiar respect that grows from this. Though they may fear you, though they may resent you, they will remember you as someone who saw them clearly. Others may flatter their illusions, but you pierced them, and part of them, though they will not admit it, will admire you for it. For to be seen even in terror is still to be recognized, and recognition, even twisted, is a form of power. Be warned, this move is dangerous. Some will react violently when confronted with their reflection. They may grow enraged, desperate, even reckless. That is why mastery of poise is essential. Your reflection must remain steady, detached, almost clinical. Do not laugh at them, for that cheapens the effect. Do not gloat, for that reveals insecurity in yourself. Simply reflect calmly and relentlessly until they break under the weight of their own fear. You do not need to use this move constantly. Overuse dulls the blade. Instead, hold it in reserve, a weapon of precision for the moments that matter most. When someone oversteps, when someone doubts your strength, when someone tries to dominate, then and only then unleash the mirror. Reflect their weakness back at them and watch their confidence dissolve. The less often you use it, the more terrifying it becomes when you do. The greatest beauty of this move is that it requires almost nothing. You don't need weapons, titles, or force. You need only your eyes, your ears, and the willingness to see what others are too polite or too afraid to acknowledge. Once you see it, you hold it. Once you hold it, you can show it. And once you show it, They are undone. It is the simplest of moves, yet among the most devastating. And here lies the paradox: though people fear the mirror, they are drawn to it. They hate you for exposing them, but they also return to you again and again like moths to a flame, because even fear is preferable to invisibility. Even shame is preferable to being unseen. In showing them their cracks, you make them feel alive, real, undeniable. They will curse you and seek you, despise you and depend on you. That is the twisted loyalty the mirror breeds, so use it. Not lightly, not constantly, but decisively. Become the reflection they dread. Let them feel naked under your gaze, stripped of the lies they spent a lifetime building. And when they beg for escape, when they claw for reassurance, offer none. The mirror is merciless. It does not soften. It does not negotiate. It only reveals, and revelation once delivered cannot be taken back. This is the fourth move, the mirror of fear. To master it is to master the art of reflection. The art of turning someone's own mask into their prison. With it, you need not strike, shout, or threaten. You need only reveal. And revelation, in its purest form, is the sharpest terror of all. Every scar is a story. Every mark on the flesh, every fracture in the voice, every hesitation in the eye. It is all evidence of battles fought, whether won or lost. And stories, they are more powerful than the wounds themselves. A scar alone is curiosity. A scar wrapped in story is mythology. And mythology is fear, sharpened into legend. Understand this: people are haunted less by what is shown than by what is suggested. A scar across the face is intriguing. A scar across the face accompanied by a whispered, unfinished tale is terrifying. Because what the mind imagines in the silence between words will always be more dreadful than what the tongue could describe in full. The scar becomes a stage, and the story you paint across it becomes the script others cannot unhear. That is the essence of this move. Craft scars into narratives, whether real or invented. Whether tender or grotesque, your wounds, your hardships, your shadows, these are not weaknesses to conceal, but weapons to wield. Display them without apology, and then give them stories that twist in the listener's mind long after you've spoken. The story doesn't have to be true. It only has to be believable. And even when it isn't believable, it still unsettles, because doubt itself breeds fear. Why do stories hold such power? Because humans are storytelling creatures. They hunger for meaning like lungs hunger for air. Show them a scar, and they will beg for its story. Tell them nothing, and they'll invent something darker. Tell them 3 different versions, each contradictory, and they'll live in the paranoia of not knowing which to believe. Certainty comforts, ambiguity terrifies. And ambiguity dressed in the flesh of scars is irresistible. There is also the aura of survival. A scar says, "I endured." It declares that you have danced with pain and remained standing. People respect survival. They envy it even when it frightens them. A scar is proof you've been to places they dread and returned with evidence. That evidence, whether of violence, betrayal, sacrifice, or madness, is currency. It buys you space in their imagination, and once you live there, you own them. Yet scars are not only physical. Emotional wounds, psychological fissures, broken histories, they all leave marks even if invisible. Speak of them not as tragedies, but as trophies. Let your voice imply that every betrayal forged a harder edge, every loss carved a deeper well, every disappointment sharpened your teeth. Show them that pain did not break you. It baptized you. Make them believe that while others drowned in the river of suffering, you learned to breathe underwater. That transformation terrifies because it reminds them of their own fragility. The trick is to wrap these scars in stories that sting without resolution. Do not tell clean tales with tidy morals. Tell stories that end mid-sentence, stories that contradict themselves, stories that leave listeners wondering what was true and what was theater. One version of the scar says you fought beasts in an alley. Another version says it was love that carved you open. Another version says you did it to yourself on purpose, to prove you could endure. Let them hear all 3. They will never know which story to believe, and the uncertainty will echo louder than truth ever could. The beauty of this move lies in its simplicity. You take what the world gives you: pain, failure, betrayal, and you reforge it into a blade. Most people hide their wounds, ashamed of them. They plaster makeup over the scars, silence over the stories. They pretend to be untouched, immaculate. That pretense is fragile. But when you do the opposite, when you lean into your scars, when you flaunt them as banners, you frighten them, because you embody what they most fear: pain endured without collapse. It is not enough to merely tell stories, you must embody them. Let the scar rest on your skin like a throne, not a burden. When someone points to it, smile, not sheepishly, but knowingly, as though you are remembering something they would never dare to imagine. That smile says more than words: I have been to the places you fear, and I walked back. No argument can withstand that implication. Some will call it manipulation. They are not wrong. But manipulation is simply the art of directing imagination, and imagination has always ruled more firmly than fact. If the story unsettles them, then it has done its job. Truth is negotiable, perception is not. If they believe your scar whispers a dangerous truth, it doesn't matter whether it actually does. Their fear is already real. The scar of stories also grants immunity, for when you openly wear your wounds, no one can weaponize them against you. They cannot shame you with what you've already claimed. They cannot belittle what you've already elevated. You turn the knife in your side into a jewel in your crown. They whisper about your scars behind your back, but the whispers only feed the legend you planted. You win by owning what others would bury. And remember, these scars are not limited to the past. You can create new ones if necessary, on your skin, in your tales, in the myths you spin. A man who walks without visible scars appears untouched, perhaps lucky but not frightening. A man who carries them like emblems and tells stories that twist the air becomes a creature of myth. Myths inspire awe, myths inspire dread. You cannot argue with myth, because myth does not care about facts. What makes this move terrifying is its permanence. A smile fades, silence breaks, unpredictability fluctuates, but scars remain. They are permanent monuments carved into flesh or memory. You carry them always. They cannot be erased, only rewritten. And once rewritten with stories, they never stop speaking. Even in silence, the scar whispers that something happened here. The story echoes without a voice. So cultivate your scars, honor them. Collect them as others collect trophies. And when you tell their stories, do so with a calm certainty that disorients. Sometimes exaggerate, sometimes contradict, sometimes trail off before the end. The aim is not clarity, the aim is to plant an image that gnaws. Leave them wondering, leave them doubting, leave them fearing the depths of what you've survived. That uncertainty will outlive any speech. This is the fifth move, the scar of stories. To master it is to turn pain into performance, wounds into weapons, history into horror. With it, you do not merely show that you have suffered, you show that suffering bends to you. And those who see it, those who hear the tales whispered around your scars, will not envy you, will not pity you. They will fear you, because they will know that what broke others built you. And that, more than anything, is the story no one wants to face. Shouting is cheap. Anyone can raise their voice, pound their fists, flood the air with sound. Noise is the currency of the insecure, spent recklessly until it loses value. But whispering is different. Whispering is deliberate. Whispering forces others to lean in, to strain, to wonder if they measured. Whispering disorients, unsettles, destabilizes. When chaos is whispered instead of screamed, it seeps into the cracks of the mind like smoke. Impossible to contain, impossible to forget. That is the essence of this move, chaos carried softly, delivered like a secret. A whisper of dread, suggestion, insinuation, always quieter than they expect. For people fear not what they hear clearly, but what they half hear, what they feel in themselves. Loud threats can be measured, answered, resisted. Whispers are different. Whispers breed imagination, and imagination is always crueler than truth. Why does a whisper feel more dangerous? Because silence surrounds it. When you whisper, the room shrinks. Every other sound falls away. A whisper is intimate, intrusive, almost invasive. It crosses boundaries without permission. You don't stand across the room and shout. You lean close, you breathe the words into the ear, and suddenly the listener feels trapped, cornered by the softest sound in the world. The whisper becomes a chain around their thoughts. Chaos thrives in this form because chaos is suggestion, not command. To scream is to demand, to whisper is to plant. A suggestion drops softly, lingers long after it is spoken. What if? Those two words, whispered at the right moment, can gnaw at a mind for days. What if you're wrong? What if they're lying? What if this is the end? A whisper does not resolve, it unravels. And unraveling is far more terrifying than confrontation. The whisper of chaos works because people are already chaotic inside. Beneath their calm exterior, their minds are churning rivers of doubt, fear, guilt, desire. You don't need to create chaos, you need only awaken it. Whisper the right word at the right time, and you light a match in a room already soaked with fuel. Their own thoughts will do the rest. They will hear your voice echo in their head long after you've stopped speaking. They will imagine consequences you never even named. That is the genius of the whisper. It turns their mind against itself. There is a rhythm to the whisper of chaos. Too much and it becomes obvious manipulation. Too little and it fades away. The mastery lies in timing and tone. A sudden whisper after long silence feels like revelation. A whisper that contradicts the expected narrative feels like poison slipped into a drink. A whisper delivered at the height of someone's certainty feels like sabotage, subtle, silent, complete. It is not the volume of the whisper that matters, but the disruption it causes. Consider how people handle rumors. A rumor is nothing but a whisper that escaped into the wild. And yet rumors spread faster, dig deeper, and linger longer than official proclamations shouted from podiums. Why? Because whispers invite imagination while proclamations demand obedience. Imagination is stronger. Imagination cannot be silenced. When you master the whisper of chaos, you do not shout threats, you sow rumors directly into the mind. A single phrase can spiral into an endless nightmare. You need not always whisper words. Sometimes the whisper is a sound, a breath, the faint suggestion of something unspoken. A pause between words, a sudden lean closer, a half-finished thought. These are whispers without language, and they are often more unsettling than speech. Silence punctuated by a near sound is chaos distilled. It is the mind screaming, "What was that? What does it mean?" Uncertainty is chaos, and the whisper is uncertainty's favorite weapon. Do not confuse whispering with kindness. A gentle tone is not the same as a whisper of chaos. Kindness soothes, comforts, heals. The whisper of chaos corrodes. It twists security into suspicion, order into doubt. It is honey laced with venom, sweet at first but burning underneath. The listener may not even realize they have been infected until much later, when the thought grows into obsession. That is the beauty of the move. Its effects are delayed, yet inevitable. This move does not require scars or theatrics. It requires presence, timing, and patience. Learn to speak softly when others grow loud. Learn to drop hints when others offer certainty. Learn to lower your tone precisely when others expect you to rise. Let them wonder why you chose that moment, that word, that pause. Let them lie awake later, replaying your whisper in their mind, unable to decide what you truly meant. Fear does not need volume, it needs persistence. And nothing persists longer than a whisper that refuses to explain itself. The whisper of chaos is most potent in moments of tension. When someone expects a fight, a shout, a declaration, lower your voice instead. Lean close, speak almost imperceptibly, and watch their composure falter. They braced for thunder and instead received mist. Mist confuses. Mist hides. Mist suffocates slowly, and in their confusion fear blooms. Be careful, though. This move is not a game of constant whispers. If you whisper always, the effect dulls, the magic fades. Reserve it for the moments when the silence around you is thick, when the air itself trembles with expectation. Then, let your whisper slice through the air like a blade wrapped in velvet. The softer the delivery, the sharper the cut. There is also strategy in what you whisper. Do not waste whispers on explanations or demands. Save them for insinuations, half-truths, unfinished thoughts. A whisper like, "It's already too late," carries far more terror than a full speech about plans and consequences. I know what you did. They're not who you think they are. You'll understand soon enough. Short, sharp, dripping with ambiguity. The less detail, the more their imagination feeds the fire. The whisper of chaos does not simply scare, it destabilizes. It erodes the foundation of certainty upon which people stand. And once certainty crumbles, anything can enter: fear, doubt, panic, submission. This erosion grants you power, because those who doubt themselves cannot resist others. They will look for anchors, for stability, and you will be the one holding it hostage. When they finally realize the whisper was more than words, when they understand it was a seed planted in their mind, a seed now grown into vines that strangle their confidence, it will be too late. They cannot cut it out. They cannot unhear it. The chaos is theirs now, inseparable from their own thoughts. And you whispered once, maybe twice, and let their imagination do the rest. Efficiency at its finest. This is the sixth move. The whisper of chaos. To master it is to master subtlety, to weaponize softness, to plant seeds of disorder so deep they grow into forests of fear. With it, you don't need to roar to be feared. You don't need to command the room with volume. You lean in, speak low, and let their own minds do the screaming for you. Every move before this has been a blade sharpened for precision. A smile that unsettles, a silence that screams, a dance that confuses, a mirror that exposes, a scar that whispers of survival, a soft chaos that corrodes. Each one a weapon in its own right, but a weapon unused is only potential. To bring them all together, to wield them as one, requires the final move, the art of the stage, the ability to enter any space, any gathering, and command it without request, without plea, without apology. This is the grand finale, owning the stage. You see, life itself is a performance, whether people admit it or not. Every conversation, every negotiation, every meeting is a play, and everyone is acting, whether they realize it or not. Most people stumble through their parts without ever realizing the script was not theirs to begin with. They wait for cues, follow unspoken rules, speak when given permission, and then retreat when the scene closes. But the stage belongs not to those who follow, it belongs to those who take it. Owning the stage is not about shouting the loudest, nor standing in the brightest light. It is about presence. Presence so heavy it bends the atmosphere. Presence so undeniable it rearranges the priorities of the room. Presence that forces eyes to notice, ears to listen, hearts to skip a beat. This is the kind of presence that does not ask for attention, it demands it. It does not plead to be remembered, it ensures memory through force of being. The question is not whether the world is a stage. The question is, will you play the role written for you? Or will you rip the script to shreds and improvise your own? Those who master this move never play the supporting role. They are always the main act, even in silence, even in shadow, even when they speak only a few words. Their performance eclipses the rest. Why? Because they own the stage. So what does it mean to own it? It means you understand that people are always watching, always scanning, always judging, always measuring. Their eyes search for someone to follow, someone to imitate, someone to fear. And if you provide that gravity, they orbit around you without realizing it. Owning the stage is about embodying inevitability. You become the sun and they are planets. You move and they revolve. How do you create such inevitability? By weaving together all the previous moves into a singular performance. The smile that suggests hidden knowledge, the silence that drowns out noise, the unpredictability that keeps them guessing, the mirror that reveals their cracks, the scars that whisper survival, the chaos that seeps softly into their thoughts, each one a note in the symphony. But the stage is where you play them all at once, blending them into a performance so overwhelming that no one can ignore you. There is a principle here, theatricality. Not in the sense of costume or mask, but in the sense of deliberate impact. Every gesture, every pause, every word must carry weight. Ordinary people leak energy through nervous tics, wasted words, aimless movement. The one who owns the stage never leaks. Every motion is chosen, every word is sharpened, every silence is calculated. You become art in motion, and art, by its very nature, commands attention. Owning the stage does not mean dominating every second. It means knowing when to let silence expand and when to strike with words. It means controlling tempo, sometimes rushing, sometimes slowing, always keeping others off balance. It means leaving space for others to speak, only to reclaim the room with a single look, a single phrase that renders everything else irrelevant. The power is not in constant action. The power is in timing. And here is the truth most people cannot accept. Owning the stage requires comfort with eyes upon you. Most are terrified of attention. They shrink, they stammer, they fold in on themselves. They wish to be invisible, to pass unnoticed. But to own the stage, you must hunger for the gaze, not for approval. Approval is weak, but for domination. You do not seek to please the eyes that watch you. You seek to control them, to bend them, to make them unable to look anywhere else. Do not confuse this with arrogance. Arrogance is brittle. It demands constant validation. Owning the stage is different. It is rooted in certainty, not insecurity. Certainty that you belong at the center. Certainty that your presence outweighs theirs. Certainty that your silence is louder than their shouts. This certainty does not need to be proven. It needs only to be lived. And once you live it, others feel it. They may not understand why, but they will feel it. The stage is not always literal. It is any space you inhabit, an office, a street, a gathering, a confrontation. To own it is to shift the gravity of that space so that all else orients around you. It does not matter whether you speak little or much, whether you move or remain still. What matters is that everything reacts to you. That is the test when you walk in. Does the air change? Do conversations falter? Do eyes shift, even slightly? If so, you are beginning to own the stage. But the grand finale is not simply presence. It is legacy. Presence fades when you leave, but legacy remains. To truly own the stage, you must leave echoes behind. Echoes in their minds, in their choices, in their fears. They should replay your words long after you've spoken them. They should measure their actions against how you might respond. They should wonder, even in your absence, if your shadow is still in the room. That is the mark of the final move. You haunt them even when you are gone. When others perform, they seek applause. When you perform, you seek silence, the heavy silence of awe, the silence of unease, the silence of fear. For applause fades quickly, but silence lingers. Applause celebrates, but silence trembles. To own the stage is not to be liked, not to be loved, but to be undeniable. And fear is the surest path to undeniability. Remember this, the stage will always belong to someone. If not you, then another. If you do not claim it, you will play by their script, orbit their gravity, bend to their rhythm. But once you decide it is yours, once you move with the certainty of ownership, the stage bows to you, and with it, the audience. This is the seventh move, the grand finale. Owning the stage. To master it is to transcend technique, to fuse every move into a performance that no one can escape. With it, you do not simply terrify in moments, you terrify in totality. You become the story, the memory, the presence that defines the room. And when they speak of you, when they whisper about you, when they shiver at your name, it will not be because you asked for fear. It will be because you commanded it by existing. And now, here we are. You've walked through every shadowed hallway with me, step by step, move by move. You've tasted the smile that unsettles, the silence that screams, the dance that disorients, the mirror that exposes, the scar that tells stories, the whisper that corrodes, and the stage that bends to your will. 7 keys, 7 weapons, 7 echoes in the dark. Do you feel it now, the change? Do you feel the weight of what you've learned settling into your bones like iron? Understand this, they will not thank you for mastering these moves. Gratitude is for the gentle. They will not applaud you, for applause is the gift of admiration. No, no, no. What you will receive is something far rarer, far sharper, far more intoxicating. You will receive fear, the involuntary glance, the lowered tone, the careful phrasing, the silence that grows when you enter the room. Fear is not offered, it is extracted. And once extracted, it belongs to you. Do you see how beautifully inevitable it is? When you smile, they will not know if it means joy or cruelty. When you grow silent, they will choke on their own words, unable to bear the weight of the quiet. When you shift unpredictably, they will flinch, wondering what version of you has appeared this time. When you reflect them, they will feel naked, stripped of the masks they thought would protect them. When you reveal your scars, they will hear stories that crawl into their imaginations and refuse to leave. When you whisper, they will carry your words like curses, replaying them until sleep deserts them. And when you own the stage, they will understand, perhaps too late, that their role was never theirs to control. All 7 moves form a symphony. Alone, each is powerful. Together, they are devastating. With them, you do not simply participate in the world. You bend it. You do not wait to be acknowledged. You dictate acknowledgement. You do not ask for space. You become the gravity that pulls space around you. Fear is not a mask you wear. Fear is the air you breathe, and once you exhale it, others cannot help but inhale. But remember, fear is not cruelty for cruelty's sake. Cruelty is clumsy, and clumsy things do not last. Fear, when cultivated properly, is precision. It is elegance. It is the art of control without chains, of command without words, of dominance without demand. Fear is the shadow that does not leave when the lights come on. Fear is memory that lingers even when you are gone. Fear is power distilled into its purest form. And here is the delicious truth: people will follow fear before they follow love. Love asks for choice, fear removes it. Love fades, fear endures. Love requires maintenance, fear sustains itself. Once they fear you, you live in their minds without rent, without effort. You haunt their decisions, shape their words, direct their paths, all without lifting a finger. Fear is the invisible hand that pulls every string. Do not expect them to admit it. They will cloak it in other names: respect, caution, admiration. They will pretend their obedience is voluntary. Let them lie to themselves. What matters is not the label, but the effect. The moment they hesitate, the moment they second guess, the moment they choose their words more carefully in your presence, you have already won. Fear does not need confession. Fear proves itself in behavior. Some will resent you, some will envy you, some will hate you with a fire that burns in their chest. Let them. Hatred is just another flavor of fear. They will plot, they will whisper, they will fantasize about seeing you fall. But beneath all of it, they will tread lightly around you. Even their hatred bends to the rules fear has set. Their rebellion will never outweigh the caution that keeps them from striking too soon. That leash is yours to hold. Others will admire you quietly. They will marvel at your composure, your unpredictability, your presence. They will not say it aloud, but they will study you, imitate you, attempt to borrow your moves. Let them try. They will discover soon enough that imitation is never mastery. Fear is not in the mechanics, it is in the essence. They will mimic the smile, but lack the serenity. They will copy the silence, but lack the certainty. They will whisper words, but lack the gravity. And so they will fail, they will be pretenders, and you will remain the original. This is the fate of those who master fear: to be imitated poorly and respected reluctantly, to be despised privately and obeyed publicly, to be whispered about in corners yet never confronted directly. It is not the life of the adored, but it is the life of the undeniable. And denial, my friend, is the only currency worth having, for while admiration flatters and love comforts, only fear guarantees. So ask yourself, now that you stand at the end of this journey, are you ready to bear that weight? For once you master these moves, you cannot go back. You cannot smile innocently. You cannot sit silently without consequence. You cannot whisper without effect. Every action will be amplified. Every move will carry gravity. Once they fear you, they will never see you the same way again. Are you ready to become that? Are you ready to walk into rooms that bend before you? Are you ready to be remembered not as kind, not as loved, but as feared? If the answer is yes, then step forward. The curtain has risen, the stage is yours. Let them chatter, let them guess, let them squirm. You are no longer a participant in their play. You are the play. You are the act they cannot follow, the story they cannot forget, the shadow they cannot escape. And when they whisper about you in the dark, when they shiver at the memory of your smile, your silence, your unpredictability, your reflection, your scars, your whispers, your stage, they will not speak of you as ordinary. They will speak of you as inevitable, as the one who mastered not love, not trust, not admiration, but fear. That is the finale. That is the victory. That is the crown. The curtain falls. The echoes remain, and so will you.